beautifully installed. I think it's really great.
Carrie Mae Weems is one of America's most important photographers of the last quarter century. Seriously, the New York Times critic wondered why she hadn't had a mid-career retrospective. Well, now she has one. It's at the Art Museum here in Portland, where Carrie was born and raised. We put together a few minutes of her talking about her work and some other things that are on her mind.
So I made this piece, Kitchen Table, and trying to understand really how to sort of, these pieces are not at all autobiographical, though they're useful as a tool for me, but it's not about autobiography as much as it is an attempt to sort of describe women. To describe women at a social certain time in their lives. Sort of how to bring those things together, play with those ideas and sort of interrogate the family. And so in this very simple way, this light of interrogation became very important. And again, it was through, I sort of stumbled upon this by making some other photographs that I began to realize that maybe this was a space that I could actually occupy and develop an entire body of work around. When I go into my studio to work, I go in and there are a group of powerful voices in literature and in music that have saved my life. Things that fade and fade, slow fade. There were all these powerful voices, all these powerful women that had given us tremendous sound by which to live and by which to sort of anchor and ground our lives. And yet they were sort of fading from memory. For the most part, none of these great voices of sound are really voices that we see, that we hear. And so I wanted to do this piece, a kind of slow fade up and a slow fade down, to pay homage to these amazing women that have been so important in the orchestration of my life. This piece is called From Here I Saw What Happened, and I cried. You became a scientific profile, a Negroid type, an anthropological debate, and a photographic subject. There's a history of photography. There's a history of Black people in the way in which Black people have been represented in American photography. And then there's a history of Blacks in America. And so there are these sort of three complex levels that get pushed and crammed into this really tight space. And that's one of the things that I think probably most interested in. Like, how do you take a very, very complex story and reduce it down to its sort of just bare minimum, but also maintain sort of the poetic structure that's really necessary that leads you through it, so that it doesn't become simply a documentary. I've been really fascinated with color, not color as a metaphor, for a very long time. Not race, but color as a metaphor. When I was growing up, nobody was ever Black. People were like blue black or caramel or red bone. I was called, my grandfather called me red. Things were very qualified. Nothing was ever Black or white. Over the last few years, many people have asked me what the work is about, and a lot of people have really attempted in one way or another to reduce the work to a question of race. I think that it's really unfortunate, because I think that there's so many other aspects, so many other dynamic problems, issues, questions, resolves that are really presented in the work, that race is simply a small part of looking at what I think of as a greater human effort on our part. That all of us, of course, are really interested in one way or another with this question, but right now and contemporarily, when we say something about race, when we say that, oh, the work is about race, it tends to really diminish what the work really is, because certainly, for the most part, nobody's really interested in dealing in that terrain right now. We are deeply, deeply connected as much as we think that we move along parallel lines. We are absolutely intersecting every step of the way, and that intersection I care about greatly and deeply, and I've decided that it's the one thing that I am going to be pursuing until the bitter end.